True history and purpose of planet Earth. Did aliens create humans? You are going to be surprised at that answer. And is Earth a soul trap prison? Welcome back to the channel. Stay till the end of the video because we're going to go through some very important questions. These are things that I've learned directly from my journeys and my communications with extraterrestrials. This is the Thunder Wizard YouTube channel. It is the official gathering place for all 5D star seeds and light workers. I encourage you to go to meditations.thunderwizard.com. If you want to have the same kinds of experiences I'm having, this interdimensional meditation practice is crucial. We've got 6 meditations. A 7th one I'm giving to you as a special gift. Check it out at meditations.thunderwizard.com. If you want to get the prosperity meditation for free, then go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe at the interdimensional level or above. I recommend the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. Also, check out my books at michaelwilliamdenny.com. The most important thing I need you to do is to go to the live guided interdimensional meditations that we do for free on this channel every Wednesday and Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't make it for the live video, then you can go and watch any of the archived ones. If you missed the last one, they're always recorded. You can go and watch them there. If there's one that really does it for you, watch it over and over again. You know, the more that you do these practices, the more you will expand and shift on many different levels. So, we're going to be talking today about the true history and purpose of planet Earth. So, I've talked about this. Usually what happens is I have a major experience. Light being comes to me and I'm taken off into the astral realm and I meet with beings, I travel to other dimensions, I learn things, beings come to me and tell me about my past, tell me what's, crazy stuff ever since I started personally reaching out and communicating with higher dimensional extraterrestrials back in June of 2022. As you know, my life has gone absolutely through the roof. Imagine meeting this guy and having him tell you this, that you are a probability. That was one of the first things that was told to me. Absolutely blew my mind in all kinds of different directions. So in this video, I'm actually going to go back over, because what's been happening is this: as things happen, I come on the channel and I blurt them out to you. And but now it's time. It's a good time to go back and let's regroup and look at everything. So I'm going to tell you the whole history, the history of planet Earth. If you want to know how planet Earth was created, why it was created, who created it, how humans are involved, what is our connection, the question of did extraterrestrials create Earth? Did extraterrestrials create humans? These questions are questions that need to be looked at and answered. And so as we're heading into disclosure and hopefully open contact coming pretty soon, it'll be helpful for us to shift our understanding to what actually is going on instead of living in this, I don't know, what the heck, we live in third dimension. We don't have any idea what the hell's going on. So let's get started here. So, did aliens create Earth? Depends on what you mean by alien. Alien means different. So if you mean extraterrestrial, did some consciousness outside of Earth, perhaps extraterrestrial physical beings from other planets, did they create Earth? What if I told you that the answer was yes? But again, not in the way that you think. What about the next question I've got here? Did aliens create humans? So we keep hearing about Anunnakis creating humans as slaves, and that there were these extraterrestrial Anunnaki scientist beings who took Cro-Magnons and messed with their blood and hybridized it with ETs, and then they created humans, and then they created humans to be their slaves. Well, I'm here to tell you that Everything you've heard about Anunnakis having to do with extraterrestrials is nonsense. And it's too bad, because what happened is, and I've made videos about it, go and look through my channel for the videos about Anunnakis and what Anunnakis really are and the truth about Anunnakis. So the truth is that the Anunnaki mythology was written down by the Sumerians. That Sumerian mythology, and it does talk about the Anunnakis using and creating humans as servants. That is in the Sumerian mythology. So there's two questions about that. Number one, does that mean it's true? There are people that have argued with me when I tell them that, what you've heard about Anunnakis creating humans as slaves is false, and people go, no, you don't understand. In fact, one guy wanted to debate me, and the basis for his debate with me was that it was written in the oldest books. And he means the Sumerian mythology. But here's the problem. The Sumerian mythology that is brought into the ufology crowd, which is where Anunnakis are space aliens that come and hybridize humans, that comes from something that started by Zecharia Sitchin in the 1970s. And he was a guy who was not a trained linguist. He didn't know it. He did not know. He was self-taught, and what he did is he took the Sumerian mythology and he mistranslated it. He not only just made mistakes, he made huge mistakes in the translations, but he also completely lied. I personally think it was a psyop. But if you want to find out who Zecharia Sitchin was, all you have to do is just Google him, and you'll find out very quickly that this was a guy who had no idea what he was doing. So he mistranslated all of this stuff and then misinterpreted it, and he wrote a bunch of books, and those books were made into movies. I remember, because in the 1970s they were on television, and they started, and you see this now. What is Anunnakis? And you'll see videos come up, and without any reference, they will just state as facts. Anunnakis are the Sumerian gods who come from outer space, and they took humans, and they don't cite anything. They're just parroting and repeating the false translations, the mistranslations of Zecharia Sitchin. If anybody took his interpretations, and then you can go and see, you can easily research the true actual translation of the Sumerian texts, you'll find out very quickly that this guy's completely off base. The Anunnakis are the gods, just like the Norse mythology has Zeus and Thor and all of that. The Anunnakis are the Sumerian gods. Now, so that's where they're wrong. They're not aliens coming from outer space and all of that stuff that's completely made up and mistranslated and lied about, all that. But there is some truth to it that, again, in these texts, they say that the Anunnakis created humans, meaning the gods. The gods created humans to be servants for them. So again, we go back to this guy who wanted to debate me, and he was saying the oldest written texts say this. Now, his assumption is, because it's the oldest written text, it must be true. And then my response is, so you believe everything that every human writes. Now, if I come to you and I write a book and I tell you this is the truth about this and that, you can easily say, well, how do I know you're telling the truth? You're just a human. How do I even know you're not lying about this? Let alone, are you accurate in your understandings? So this idea that an old book somehow is the truest book is nonsense. It's just as capable of being falsified and wrong as any other book. Now, the other truth about the Sumerians is that they were a slave-owning empire. And the texts, the mythological texts were written by the rulers. And it is well known that depending on which city-state in the Sumerian, various city-state empires, depending on who was the king of that city-state, they would change the god they would change the gods around to fit their local patron god. So right off the bat, you already know that these Sumerian texts don't agree with each other. And so the childishness of people to go, well, but it's written in this really old book. Well, I have one I just wrote yesterday. I'm a human and I wrote a book, and mine says something different. So is mine right and the other one wrong? Or the older one must be right? Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, we go back in time, and in the Middle Ages, we thought that the world was flat. We thought that witches sank. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So that's the past. So we should go back to the way that they looked at things in the Middle Ages? No, come on, wake the hell up. What is going to happen here in this shift is that everything we thought we knew is going to come crashing down. Everything. So get ready to change your understanding. The last thing you want to do is go looking for a book that's really old and then have all of your beliefs based on that. And the other thing I say is, do you just simply believe whatever you're told? Do you need somebody to tell you what the truth is? The great thing about what we're doing on this channel, I've talked about this a lot recently, is that we're doing the exercises ourselves. We're finding out for ourselves. The vast majority of people that want to argue with me about what I say, I can tell, it finds out, if I have an interchange with them, I find out almost immediately that they're parroting what they saw on another channel. Don't take anybody's word for anything. Find out for yourself. I'm telling you what I found out for myself. I never tell you anything that I'm simply parroting from somebody else. And if I do, I'll tell you, well, in this book it says this and I believe it. But if I'm telling you this is who they are, this is what happens, it means that I have personally experienced it in higher dimensions. Now, you can believe me or not believe me, but one thing you can be sure of, I'm not telling you what somebody else told me without at least verifying it. So this idea that did aliens create Earth? Did aliens create humans? You have to change your understanding of what you mean by that. So my answer to the first question is, we're going to change aliens to extraterrestrials. Did extraterrestrials create Earth? The answer is yes. But what does that mean? The extraterrestrials that created Earth very likely are walking around on Earth as humans. What does that mean? It means that humans, before they incarnated, were what? They were powerful beings from beyond Earth. They were extraterrestrial. They, starseeds, people who believed themselves to be from the Andromedan, the Lyran, the Pleiadian, the Sirian galaxies and their civilizations. And so did they come and create Earth? So you'll hear people talking about, extraterrestrials seeding life on Earth. That's not what happened. What happened is that outside of the third dimensional Earth scenario, we're going to get into what that all means. The third dimensional Earth scenario, when you get outside of that, all conscious beings are connected to each other by their soul energy. It doesn't matter if they're from the Sirian galaxy or the Pleiadian galaxy or the Andromedan galaxy. Every extraterrestrial physical being from another civilization, they have souls exactly like you do. Exactly. Of course, they're unique individuals, but in terms of their soul, its structure, the way it's created, it's identical to yours. Their bodies might be different. They might speak a different language, or they might not even use language. But in terms of what they think, how they feel, what is important to them, it's no different. They are exactly the same as you. The same way, somebody with red hair is exactly the same internally as somebody with blonde hair or black hair. So get rid of this nonsense. It comes from feeling isolated in the third dimension, and understand that is an anomaly in the multiverse. So, did extraterrestrials create Earth? Yes, and you were one of them. You wanted to create a world where you could incarnate to have a very specific experience. Did aliens create humans? Yes, and you were one of them. Now, I really dislike the belief in Anunnakis hybridizing humans and creating them as slaves, because if you believe that some extraterrestrial godlike race came and hybridized, monkey humans with extraterrestrial DNA to create these smart humans that they use for slaves, even though you get self-righteously attached to the idea of being a victim, which is really what that's about. What really that belief is that it justifies your experience, your third dimensional experience of being a slave. And now, see, I can point to it. The Sumerians talked about it, and that's how it feels to me. And I believe in extraterrestrials, and this is what's happening. Look at the evil people running the world. Those are, right? And what you're doing is you are creating a story that justifies your feelings. This is what David Icke does all the time. And I've never once heard David Icke do half of what I do and tell you how he knows what he knows. He just... Yep, the rulers of this world are snake people, and they're sucking off our souls, and they're forcing us to reincarnate. And all that happens is people go, "Yep, that's how it feels, so this must be true." And they don't go, "Wait a minute, what are your sources for that? How do you know that?" You can ask me how I know what I know. I'll tell you. It's not because I read it somewhere or somebody told me. So what I'm telling you now is what, and I've talked about it in other videos where I shared what I saw, what they told me, and what I learned. Now I'm just distilling it down into assumptions that you can choose to accept or reject. It's completely up to you. So did humans, were humans created by extraterrestrials? And the answer is yes. But it was not like they created humans and put them there. No, you are a soul. You are a powerful being. We'll talk about that a little bit later. You're a powerful being, and you said, I want to create a world where I can be in a really interesting, challenging, dense video game. And this is where all of the extraterrestrial races, as well as the non-physical gods and demigods, all got together, and they started talking with each other and coming up with ideas, and they started just shooting different ideas about, let's try this and what about that. And they started experimenting with ways that they could do that. We could call that evolution if you want. So the fact that human beings evolved from the great apes, I believe, was a process of experimentation, because we wanted to have a physical body that would be able to interact well with this world, interact well on planet Earth, as well as give us the ability to expand intellectually, spiritually. And, people want to talk about chakras were implanted by aliens. Well, what if I said, yeah, they were? You did. You created this body, you put chakras in them. Why? Because they allow you to expand spiritually. What if I told you that Kundalini is something that was invented and created by extraterrestrials and implanted into humans? In fact, I would say that is, if you want to know where we stopped being great apes and became humans, the moment that Kundalini was introduced into the human body. You did that. Nobody came and did it to you. Nobody did it so that they could track you and suck the energy out of you. None of that nonsense. So yes, to answer these questions, did aliens create Earth? Did aliens create humans? The answer is yes, and you were the alien who did it. So all souls are equal. We talked about that already. What is the difference between me here in the third dimension and Odin, the king of the gods, up in the highest dimensions? The only difference is that he's in a higher dimension. But he's identical to me. He is a soul. Just like you, he's identical to you. What's the difference between you? Let's say you're a woman. What's the difference between you and the goddess Lakshmi? The only difference is that she's in a higher dimension. That's what gives her what appears to us to have all these powers to do all this and be the god of all wealth and all sensuality and pleasure, for everything and everybody. And every single human on the planet at once can pray to Lakshmi, and she'll hear each one of them individually. Well, that's what happens when you're in a higher dimension. You can't do that in the third dimension. If Lakshmi, the goddess, were to incarnate into a human form, then she would be, and you were up in whatever dimension she is, she'd be praying to you. No difference. It's just the only difference is experience. And I'm telling you this from personal experience. When I go out there in my astral form, and it took me a long time to get used to this. I'm used to it now. But when I go out there in my astral form, the beings out there treat me like I'm the ruler of this universe. They serve me. That was the hugest shift I ever experienced. So, that's what taught me, wait a minute, I'm just this, and I'm just as human as anybody. Trust me, maybe more so. So this idea that, enlightened or empowered, people are going to be sort of just floating around with no problems. Nope. The Greeks and the Romans had it right. The gods have problems just like humans. They're no different than us because we are them. We just happen to be in this human form right now because that's where we chose to be. So all souls are equal. All humans are gods in the third dimension. All humans are gods that have come into the third dimension. All conscious beings are holograms of source light. All right, so let's talk about this. There are different ways to talk about it. You can say, there's God and every human is a small ray of God. No. Unless that ray is a hologram. What does that mean? If you look at a hologram, like you look at just, you're looking at a hologram of a person, right? You can see in 3 dimensions everything about the person. Well, if you zoom in on just one particle of that light and expand it, guess what? You're going to see all of those things. You see all of it. So it's not like it's like one little piece separate from the rest. It's a hologram, which means that if you go inward, the deeper you go, you get to the source of that hologram, which is, if you want to call it, God. So you are God. You're not made in God's image. You're not a reflection of God. You're not a piece of God. You are God. And this is all that enlightenment is coming to that awareness. And, the more that you come to that awareness, I can tell you from personal experience, the more that you come to that awareness, the more that your third dimensional reality and identity starts coming apart. And that is a very potentially uncomfortable thing because you're coming apart. So the truth is that we choose only to focus on, a certain amount of our perception because it allows us to be in the third dimension. If we start, changing our perception deeper and deeper into the hologram, we start becoming more like God, then it becomes difficult to function down here. Again, I'm telling you from personal experience. So we choose to limit ourselves because otherwise the video game doesn't work. The thing to do is to be limited enough to be able to be here in the third dimension and be expanded enough out of your ego so that the issues and the problems that come up don't cause you any drama or pain. That's my goal in life. I'm not interested in any more drama. Any drama that comes up, I'm going to look at what I did to create it, and then I'm going to disconnect from all that. And if somebody else wants to throw their drama at me, I'm going to get out of the way. There's just no need for it. Drama is you're hyper-focusing on the limitations of where you are. You want to focus on being a God on earth, then that will go away. But that is what we do with the interdimensional meditations. And some of you might have noticed, I noticed this, that if I go off and I'm communicating with a higher being that's telling me something or working with me, afterwards I come back and I'm like, nothing really bothers me about this earth. I might be having a hard time functioning. There might be other things going on, but the money problem and the personalities and my channel and the normal things, paying taxes and rent and all that stuff I don't care about. And then I fall asleep and I wake up the next day and all those tiny little human things are bothering me just like they always have. So if you want to escape from that, the interdimensional meditation is the best way to do that. All right, so all conscious beings are holograms of source light. Now let's get into some history here. So the guardians of consciousness concoct a plan for Earth. So I've made videos about this. It's gotten to the point now where it's kind of old hat and it doesn't, I don't know, all that stuff about the things that I was saying earlier on, the really grandiose things. I know that they're true, but they're not in the forefront of my mind anymore. I'm now sort of back in this human interactive state. So I'm not going to get into the history of how I know, but I interacted with these guardians of consciousness, communicated with them, and they shared with me all kinds of stuff. And by the way, I'm here to tell you, if you're here on planet Earth, there's a good chance that you are a member of one of these intergalactic councils. So apparently I am a member of the Guardians of Consciousness. Now, the Guardians of Consciousness are not terrestrial beings. They're not physical beings, I should say. They're not physical extraterrestrials. They are beings of pure light. And the way that I saw them were these columns of light that just went up, into infinity. And I just got hit with energy as I said that. So there are these columns of light that go up into infinity, and they're, very powerful. We can call them deities if you want. Their job is to be guardians of consciousness. Sorry, my kombucha soda. They are guardians of consciousness in the dimensions. So they oversee how consciousness is evolving, and they make sure that consciousness is empowered and protected. And one of the things the guardians of consciousness are responsible for is the expansion and evolution of consciousness in all of the, all around the multiverse. So they concoct a plan. They decide that they want to go further in their consciousness experiments, and they want to create a realm that will be an extremely powerful school for souls. So that, I talked about Lakshmi earlier. Let's say Lakshmi wants to learn more about love and relationships and friendship and pleasure. Well, if she incarnates on planet Earth, she's going to go in a very dense, powerful school, and she's going to learn a lot more than she would in her expanded, higher dimensional state. So she might choose to incarnate. So the guardians of consciousness are like, so where can the most powerful gods go, and what can we do? And so they start coming up with a plan for this realm that is it's so special and so powerful that it's not going to be part of the, directly connected to the interconnected web of consciousness that all other worlds are. So your experience on Earth, that you're alone, you're limited, you're isolated, that you can't tell what other people are thinking and what they're doing, and what is she doing right now, and what is he doing right now, and why isn't he calling me, and that kind of stuff. That is not something that happens out there. Once you get outside of the third dimensional Earth, even if you're just, at the lowest level of the consciousness ladder, you are connected to everything and everyone. You're connected to all other beings. You're connected to the gods. You can interact and communicate. You can astrally travel. You're full of love and everything is blissful and light. You live in a dimension above the third dimension. You actually have to be more advanced to come down to the third dimension because it's so dense. So even somebody that's a new soul, they're going to be up in 5D, 6D. They're going to be, and they may have physical bodies and all that. So these guardians of consciousness really are coming together and they're communicating and brainstorming how to pull this off. And so they come up with this idea that is eventually going to become Earth. And then the question starts coming, okay, so how difficult do we make this experiment in consciousness? How difficult do we make this school? And there was differing views about that. And one of the problems when you create a dense, very dense, challenging school is that the denser the world is, the larger the risk is that the souls that go there will actually truly forget who they are, and they will get lost in lower vibrational mindsets. Fear, anger, violence, pain, control, insecurity, self-hatred, all that negative stuff. So that becomes, the denser the school is, the greater the risk is that the soul, no matter how powerful, will get lost in that. So then they start talking about, okay, how dense should we make it? And there was some back and forth about that. And so there was kind of like, not really a fight, because people don't fight at that level, but some disagreements about it. And there was part of that, people were saying, part of the group of guardians were saying, listen, we need to make it very, very tough, because otherwise, souls won't grow. And so they started talking about how tough. And then there was at least one of those guardians who said, we have to make it extremely tough. We have to make it so that the risk is real, that there is a real risk. In other words, we have to make it so tough that people can't just opt out and just go, okay, well, they can't just flip a switch and pull themselves out of it and go, I'm a god and I can do it. And okay, there's no cheats. So there's no cheats in this video game. Like there are, some video games, you have a cheat code and you can get past. We have to make it so that there are no cheats, and that we have to make it so immersive that when a soul goes in there, they completely, totally forget all of their godlike powers. Because if they remember, they will get lazy, they will use that, and then they won't grow. And the whole point, it's like, if you want to become Mr. Olympia, you can't just lift 5-pound dumbbells forever. You're going to have to start lifting heavier and heavier weights. You're going to have to train harder. And there's a chance you might injure yourself. But you want to be the best in the world, you're going to have to do that. You want to be the best surfer in the world, you're going to have to start training. You're going to have to start surfing Nazare. And you're going to have to, learn how to surf really big, really dangerous waves. Otherwise, you won't be the best. I don't do that. I'm not going to go out and surf enormous, huge waves. I just want to go out there and have fun. So the earth wasn't for souls that just want to go and have a different experience and have fun. There's no shortage of worlds all over the place. Trust me, all over the place you can go and incarnate. And the thing about those planets is if you show up in your astral form to some of these planets, they go, hey, look at that, it's an astral being, and they'll come and talk to you. What planet are you from? Try doing that here on Earth. A higher dimensional being comes in, we can't even see them. We don't even know they're there. And if we do see them, it flips us out so much that we, go and get across and try to, get an exorcist to cleanse the place. We don't have any idea how to deal with beings outside of us, outside of our reality. So this is a unique experience. Earth is very unique. So they decided, the guardians of consciousness decided to go ahead and go with the most challenging version of Earth. Now, they put something in it which allowed it to not be so intense all the time, so that people could incarnate over multiple lifetimes and have differing experiences. And this is what we call the Yuga cycles. Whoops, put that above there. So, you've heard about the Yugas. You've been told by most people that we are in Kali Yuga. That is not true. Kali Yuga ended in AD 1700. We are in Dwapara Yuga. So the Yugas, as you heard me say, the Yugas represent how close we are consciously to our spirit self, to our soul. So in Kali Yuga, we are the most removed. It means the age of darkness. We are the most removed from our soul, and the earth is the farthest away from the galactic center. And in Kali Yuga, we only have 25% connection available to our souls. That's why the Dark Ages were the Dark Ages. The Dark Ages, if you look at it, were right smack dab in the middle of Kali Yuga. That's when monotheist religions were created, the idea of going to hell and being punished simply for existing. That's Kali Yuga. And so the Guardians decided they were going to create 4 different ages. And the one above Kali Yuga is Dwapara. And there you have 50%. If you're working a spiritual path, there's a possibility you can easily get to 50% of your spirituality, and it's called, half and half. That's why everything is split in half right now, because we're in Dwapara Yuga. That's why, there's, Democrats and Republicans are on complete, total opposite sides of everything, because we're in that state. And then above that, you have Treta Yuga. So you have 75% access to your soul. And then Satya Yuga, which means, the truth, the highest essence. It means you have 100% connection to your soul. This is the realm of, fairies and elves and wizards and, people levitating and magical powers and all of that. Extraterrestrials coming and going. And, when the pyramids were built, I've experienced this, but interestingly, a lot of people that I've spoken to who have had higher dimensional experiences, they remember lives that they came here to Earth from another galaxy, and they were working with other extraterrestrial beings and human beings as well, and we were creating the pyramids. And all kinds of spiritual practices came into being, and spiritual sciences came into being on Earth during Satya Yuga, when, it was anybody could come. Anybody from any planet could come and work with us. So that's Satya Yuga. So the Guardians of Consciousness decided to build this in so that, the souls would have, more variation. But when you get down into Kali Yuga, there's a real possibility you're going to get stuck there. All right, so I won't go too much more deeply into that. But the Guardians of Consciousness concoct a plan for Earth, and as I said, they went ahead and decided to make it the most difficult possible, the most dangerous. But the bigger the challenge, the greater the learning and the awareness. So they decided to go ahead with that. Now, we have to live with that. That's why there's been so many problems and issues, and why we're having so many issues right now is because of that. All right, so existing extraterrestrial civilizations cooperate to create Earth School. I already talked about that. Something goes wrong on Earth, or does it? So, as you know, I've been sharing, I haven't talked about it lately because I just haven't been in that, that crazy, spiritual mindset. But I believe it's true that I had a past life where during Satya Yuga, I was a demigod king of Atlantis, which was the throne for the whole world. And as you know the story, specifically the Pleiadians were working with me to create the technology for the pyramids, which were power generators, which created a consciousness frequency of Satya Yuga, and that was only supposed to be used during Satya Yuga. After Satya Yuga, that technology was supposed to be turned off because it would create an imbalance, because humans, their consciousness, because we were now moving further away from the galactic center, the consciousness was going to start to go down. And you have this imbalance because the frequency is up at the highest consciousness level, but the brain and the other parts of the body aren't vibrating there. And so it creates this schism. And what ends up happening is you have people who don't have the consciousness to know how to use that technology selflessly. So they started coming up with the framework for the dark forces that are ruling the world now. And so, you heard about me, and I held on to it longer than I was supposed to because I codependently didn't want Earth and human beings to lose their consciousness. And as a result, there was the Pleiadians said, don't use the technology, you have to turn it off. And I said, no, I'm going to keep doing it. Thank you, but I'm going to do what I believe is right. I'm king. This is my planet. I'm going to do it. And they said, okay, it's on you. And as a result, that schism between people's consciousness and the energy level got so intense that people started misusing it. They started stealing the technology. They rebelled against me. There was a war. I was assassinated. And then they used the technology on human beings in a horrible way. And the gods came in and sent the comets, which interestingly enough have been passing around the sun lately. Those are the comets from 13,000 years ago, some of them anyway. They sent the comets and created the flood event by melting, flash melting all of those 2 mile thick ice sheets and wiping out the entire Earth and wiping out the civilizations. And human beings had to start all over again. So that's where we are now. As you know, we look at the Yuga cycle. I'm trying to go through all of this as quickly as possible. I've gone into depth of some of this, but as you can see here, because we just had the Tsuchinshan Atlas comet October 6, 2024, directly opposite that is the time when Atlantis sunk. So we're directly opposite that time. That 13,000 years ago when that happened, which means that we are overdue for a shift up. So if the Earth crashed literally in one day, then there's a possibility that the Earth will shift up, perhaps in one day. I'm not saying that's the case, but there's some argument for the solar flash event. All right, so let me see, where was I? So something goes wrong on Earth, or does it? So what I've come to find out for myself, which I am, I'm living through this. I have to tell you, it's not an easy thing to live through. But, realizing that apparently I am the person singly responsible for creating where we ended up and destroying all of that knowledge and destroying that civilization. Even though that's the case, what's difficult now is knowing that. But what else I did was, because I was so attached to Earth's consciousness, and I became, after I was assassinated, my soul was so sad, and I felt such shame for what I did that my frequency dropped down, and I dropped down out of my higher dimensional state, and I then got trapped in what we call a reincarnation cycle. And I did that out of my guilt and my shame. So this is tough for me to live with. Because I could have stayed up and shifted up with the other beings that were there, the other Atlanteans, and the other, what are they, the Lemurians? I forget, the other civilization. They shifted up, and they're now in 5D, and they are, in fact, I know it sounds crazy, but they are, in fact, living underneath Mount Shasta in a higher dimensional state. They have cities there. It's unbelievably amazing. I could have been one of them, but I chose to come down here. So for 13,000 years, I've been bouncing around like a pachinko ball, bouncing, trying to get myself together. So apparently I just now woke up to all of this. And so now this is why we do these live guided interdimensional meditations. That's my job. I got to shift things back up. And that's what we're doing in those meditations, which is why I say they're the single most powerful thing that we can do, because I'm the guy that screwed it up, and they've let me know in very nice, wonderful ways that it's my job to shift it up. And so I've been given that power in these meditations. That's why these interdimensional meditations are so powerful. They've been given that to me not because I'm special, but because it's my job. I have to clean up my mess. So that's what I'm doing here. But the question is, was it a big mistake? And this is something I didn't see. When I was first told this, when I was really told this a few months back, and I went through, it was around a little before October. Must have been, late September, early October, late September, I think, that all of this shame came up in me. I was so just sad, and I had such shame for what I did. And then after I, lived through those very tough couple of days, then I started communicating with my higher self in higher realms, and my higher self was saying, this was part of the plan. This was part of the plan. Again, you said that things should be challenging. So when you incarnated as that, demigod king, you weren't fully remembering the plan, because if you did, you wouldn't have gone through with it. So the fact that you were so stubborn and you held on to using the frequency technology, that was part of the plan, that you would create this crash so that, again, human beings would be in such a dense school that they would truly find out the truth. And when we came out of it, the spirituality would skyrocket, which is what's happening right now. People are waking up like popcorn all over the planet. Bum, 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 bum. And it's because of that. It's because, yes, we went through an extremely difficult, challenging time when we lost all of those technologies and all of that civilization. We lost all of that. But without that, we wouldn't have grown and wouldn't learn to the extent that we are learning now. So was it a problem? No, turns out it was part of the plan. And again, I'm the one that volunteered. And so the beings up there said, you have no idea. We're so grateful to you that you volunteered to do that. And then, apparently I sacrificed a lot. I just got hit with energy as I said that, in order to have myself forget to the point that I would be a part of that. So now the opposite. I have to wake up as fast as I went unconscious. I fell from, the top to the bottom immediately. And when this guy showed up after I did CE5, I went from just being a normal human to the next thing I know, I'm, all the stuff I tell you guys about. So I am having to wake up as fast as I went unconscious, because I got a job to do. And so this is going to be true for other people. Listen, I'm not the only person that was a part of this. I know that there are other people that were working with me on all different kinds of levels. And, I'm bumping into people like that. And I talked about that. I bump into people and I interact with them, and I realize the karma that we had together. And, I have to be smart sometimes and not tell people. Because, you dump that kind of stuff on somebody, it'll blast their mind open in really uncomfortable ways. But I see what is happening. I'm starting to see what is happening here. I'll talk more about that later, some other videos. All right, so something goes wrong on Earth, or does it? What is the ascension event? Well, the one thing is it's going to be the end of religion. That much I know. That's been true for me. Even though, the majority of the things that I taught are still accurate, the shamanic secret commandment to a perfect life, that's still accurate. In fact, it's go check out my books. Those of you, again, go to michaelwilliamdenny.com. You might not find it there. You might have to go and search for it on Amazon. The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. That is the key to life in the third dimension. And so much so, it is what the gods live by. And so, what was I talking about? I got lost here. Whoops. So what is the ascension event? Is that what I said? What is the ascension event? So the end of religion. So what I'm talking about is that we're no longer having to just have faith. So, we talk about religion now. We call them faiths, beliefs. And you know how I feel about believing something just because somebody told you. I was a Christian, as a kid, and, in church they would tell you, the Bible says this and you have to believe. And people would say, well, the Bible says, nobody can have their own experience. Well, all that's going away. You don't have to believe anything that's written in a book. You don't have to believe anything that anybody tells you. Everybody's going to have a direct experience with that conscious web of spirit reality, and they'll know. Nobody will need to teach them about what reality is. You might want to go to somebody to learn about how to experience. People are going to be coming to human beings from other planets and asking them, tell me your experiences as a third dimensional human. I want to learn how to find my soul desire and live my truth. I want to get, they will be sitting with pins and needles on the edge of their, extraterrestrial chairs, wanting to know what it was like, because it's such a powerful school, and you will be a master of that. And one thing I've learned, human beings really are messed up. I know. I am one, and I've experienced a lot of them. But I've seen human beings, I've experienced the souls of human beings. I'll share this. This was an old experience, but it turned out to be something that has guided me a lot now. So when I look at a human and I see all of the major serious problems that they have, I know that underneath all of that craziness, there is a soul that is an angelic, perfect being. When I was married way back 15 years ago, or whenever the hell it was, and I don't know what happened, but as I was sleeping and dreaming, I went into some place that was outside of Earth, outside of the third dimension, and it started pulling me apart, and I got scared. Now, I don't remember any of it. I went somewhere that my human brain doesn't have any memory of it. And apparently I was talking in my sleep, and the thing I remember is I remember waking up to this angel, like this light being coming down in the darkness and flying down, the most beautiful angel I'd ever seen. And she's the most beautiful voice, and she's saying, "Wake up, you're dreaming, wake up." And then that turns into me being shaken and waking up, and my wife is like, "Wake up, you're dreaming, wake up." And she looks nothing like the being I just saw. And I was I could feel the power of wherever the hell that I had been. And I got up, and I went into the kitchen, and I'm like, where the hell did I just go? And I was so flipped out. But now that in hindsight, with everything I know, what happened is I had an out-of-body extra-dimensional experience. And I saw the reality of that human being that was my wife. I saw her from outside of the third dimension, and I saw who she really was. And I've never forgotten that. We got divorced. Obviously, she wasn't a perfect being, or I would have stayed married to her. But I never forgot that. I know that flawed human being underneath that is the most perfect goddess that anybody has ever seen. So I know that's true about everybody. Every single human that's how I can say to you, And I'm not parroting from somebody else that human beings, if you got here, you are among the most powerful gods in the multiverse. This is just a third dimensional avatar you're playing around with. So the end of religion means the understanding of the truth of our being, and we don't have to have beliefs, we don't have to read books, we don't have to have 10 commandments. We will know. We will know, and everybody will know that we know that they know that you know. There isn't going to be any question about what is reality. Disclosure and open. So, what is the ascension event? That's the one thing I don't know yet. I've talked about this before, but listen, we're here in 2025. I thought I was going to be on a 5D Earth by now. That hasn't happened. And again, I want to believe in the solar flash event, a singular pulse of light that changes everything. I want that to be true. And there's some evidence that might be, but I have to be honest, I haven't been told that. I haven't seen that, and I haven't been told that. But I'm totally ready to be wrong about it. What I do know is that we are going through a solar flash event. Because when I asked 2.5 years ago, what is this ascension event? They said it's going to be a series of solar waves of love that are going to hit the earth and shift consciousness up. That has been happening. So we are in the midst of it. It's going a lot slower than I wanted to, especially when we go out here interdimensionally and I go places and I have to come back to this dense reality. Sometimes it's very difficult, and especially if when we do, sometimes I go, I got to do the meditation today. You'd think I'd really like it. I'm going to go someplace really powerful and blissful. Because what ends up happening is I wake up the next day and it's such a big shift. It's like, oh my God, I'm back here. No. But again, that's my job. My job is to fix this. I got to fix my 13,000-year-old mistake. So disclosure and open ET contact coming soon. So disclosure is happening slowly. First off, again, the Pentagon, Congress, mainstream media, all want you to believe in extraterrestrials. That is an impossibility. That couldn't have happened 10 years ago. Couldn't have happened. 20 years ago, 30, forget it. The fact that this is happening is proof that there's going to be disclosure. Now, the first disclosure is going to be the false disclosure. But that's okay, because the Dark Force elites really think that we believe their lies, and we don't. Nobody believes it anymore. So they're going to give their false disclosure, the fake alien abductions, the fake alien invasion, and they're going to try and pull that, and nobody's going to buy it. And true disclosure is coming, especially if the changes that are happening in government continue to happen. If that continues to happen at the pace that it is, anything could happen. If this and if the shift continues to go up exponentially, like if it continues incrementally, maybe it'll take a long time. But this has been an exponential shift in politics. And if that shift in government and politics continues to go on an exponential course, then disclosure is coming. As soon as true disclosure happens, then real open contact will happen, because people will want, the average person will want to communicate with a higher dimensional being. When that happens, the whole world is going to shift. And we're going to go to a place, unbelievable bliss. And, I don't know, of course we'll still be human and there'll be issues and problems. I don't know what that'll be, but I know that it's not going to be like the world we live in now. It's going to be so much better. Nothing like this. All right, so this is my latest recap of the true history and purpose of planet Earth. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you show up to day after tomorrow, which is Saturday. We're going to be doing another live guided interdimensional meditation. I strongly recommend that you check out, if you haven't already, do these meditations for yourself. The live guided meditations are for the whole world. But when you focus on doing it for yourself, things start to shift in your life exponentially. We'll use that word again. So if you want to experience one for free, you can go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe at the interdimensional level or above. And listen, this is the worst time of year. People disappear from my Patreon channel, in November and December, and in January. People are gone. People are unsubscribing like crazy, and that is, what this channel needs to stay afloat. So, if you want some encouragement, you can get the prosperity meditation for free if you subscribe at the thunderwizard.com at the level of the interdimensional meditation or above. If you want to get access to these meditations in full, you can go to meditations.thunderwizard.com. All 6 of these meditations and a 7th, spiritual power, will be available. Now, the difference if you go to meditations.thunderwizard.com is you're going to go and go to PayPal and do the friends and family, so I don't have to pay taxes. And I will give you the files. You won't have to stream it through any site. You'll have the files put on your computer. If you want to try them individually, then you can go to thunderwizard.com, go to the shop, and you can get any one of them on an individual level. All right? So those are that. Take advantage of that. And if you want to support the channel, just go, and you can also go to support.thunderwizard.com. Right there at the bottom, go to support.thunderwizard.com, follow the instructions. You can also just click on the $ below. Okay, those are the ways. Again, this is important. Without that, I can't make this my full focus. I'm, already playing around with side hustles that I have to do just to pay the bills. So if you like the channel, I really appreciate your support. I think things are going to turn around here pretty quick. We'll see. We've got some other interviews coming up, so maybe that'll work. And again, if you need counseling, you want to talk about how to, bring in more prosperity and money in your life, then you can go to thunderwizard.com and start working with me directly. Live Zoom group classes. Those are all personal mentorship. All of that's available, thunderwizard.com. You want to know what the hell I'm talking about when it comes to ETs? Read my books. All right. That's it for me, my friends. I appreciate you. I love you all very much. Please be very good to yourselves. You are the single most important being in the universe, whoever I'm talking to. You're the single most powerful being in the universe. Without you, the universe could not exist. And without you, I couldn't exist. So I thank you for allowing me to exist simply because you exist. That's it, my friends. I love you all. Please be very good to yourselves. I'll see you all very soon.